Uh, Darcy's Corner. So today is November 10th, and tomorrow's November 11th. And if you're in Canada, that's Remembrance Day. In the US, it's Veterans Day. I'm not sure what it is in other parts of the world, but in Canada, it's Remembrance Day. And I mean, what I was taught when I was a child was the purpose of Remembrance Day was to remember those who died in war, and they would show us footage of World War II and people fighting in trenches and things. I realized trenches was World War One, but it was black and white photos with people being killed and shot with things. I was a small child when I would see that stuff. And then later, of course, in life, movies like Schindler's List came out and Saving Private Ryan, and you watch those types of things, and you think you understand anyway, from a civilian perspective, um, what war is and what fighting it was about for the people who were fighting it. Um, I'll I'll tell you this quick story. When I was talking to my uncle one time, and he was telling me a story about his grandfather. That's my great grandfather, and I never really knew my great grandfather. I knew my great grandmother fairly well as a child. I spent a lot of afternoons in her house playing Go Fish and writing on chalkboards and doing the things that little children do. I helped her water her flowers quite a bit. But I never knew my great grandfather. He was not around when I was a child. And apparently he was a very hard man to live with. And I don't know exactly what happened. I just know that he had some issues. And so he left. And I never met him as a child. I met him later as an adult once before he died. I might have met him twice, but I for sure I met him one time. I went to his house and seen how he was living, and it was an interesting experience. But again, I didn't really get to know him. But he was a hard man, and he was a hard man to live with, and that's all I know about him is he was a hard man. But my uncle told me the story that when he was a little boy and he was hanging out with his grandpa told him the story of how he got in a fight with a German during World War II, and he had to put a knife through the man's neck. So it's no wonder to me that my great grandfather was a hard man to live with. Because I can't imagine. I mean, I've worked a lot of jobs and I've done a lot of hard things in my life, but I've never had to kill another human being. And I was never mortally afraid that another human being was actively trying to kill me. But that's what my grandfather endured, my great grandfather endured. He was in hand to hand combat with a German soldier who was trying to kill him. I mean, of course he was a hard man when he came back. Of course he had trouble relating to people and living a normal life. I mean, I don't know his whole story, other than he was in the infantry, I guess, and on the front lines. But if you watch We Were Soldiers, no, that's not the one I'm thinking of. The HBO one, anyway. Um, Band of Brothers. One of my favorite HBO series is Band of Brothers. But you watch what they go through and how horrible it was and how it messed them up. Well, that was the type of thing that my grandfather did. He didn't jump out of airplanes. But as far as being shot at and having to hide in a hole and stuff, I imagine that was the kind of thing he had to do. And so why did my great grandfather go and do that? Well, I like to think. Again, I don't know. I can't tell you he was a good man. I didn't know him. But I can tell you he fought for my freedom. the reason I have the life I have today is because he and others like him stood up when they were called, and they said, "You will not do this to us. You're going to stop now." And he made them stop. I am so grateful for the country I live in. I am so grateful for the freedoms I have today and the choices I have. And all of this that I have, that we have as a society, is because of sacrifice that men like my great-grandfather made. Now, he didn't lose his life, but in a way he did. Right? Maybe he lost his soul. Maybe he lost hope in humanity. I don't know. Like I say, I didn't get to know him because when I was a little tyke, he was gone. Because they just couldn't, I guess he couldn't stay. It was just too hard for him trying to look after his family. But again, you can't judge him because he had a harder life than you or I ever will. But anyways, I'm grateful for his service. I'm grateful for the sacrifices he made. I had another relative who was enlisted in World War II, and he was a bomber pilot. But him I did get to know reasonably well, and he would tell me stories. But he never actually did any fighting. He was all ready to do the fighting, he told me, and he said, but the week before he was supposed to go overseas, the war got called off. So, but he was next in line. And I mean, a bomber pilot, man, if you're flying a bomber, you're just flying a big target that explodes. Right? The sacrifices that have been made by our men and women in the service. And today you might learn about the people who fought in Afghanistan or wherever it is that they fought on behalf of our country because we asked them to. There was a young man killed in Wainwright not 2 weeks ago in a live fire accident. He lost his life because he was willing to defend mine. So that's why we wear a poppy in Canada on November 11th. Because we remember those who sacrificed, and we appreciate the service that they put out for us. And it helps to put things in perspective, doesn't it? So, if you have the chance on November 11th, take a minute and be respectful. Check out a service online or something, and just remember all the freedoms you have today, all the first world problems that we have, assuming you're watching this from a first world situation. The reason we have those first world problems, the reason we have those privileges and those rights and those freedoms is because men and women went before us and fought for them. So just be grateful and say thank you. Anyway, this is Darci's Corner. Remembering Remembrance Day and telling you what it means to me. And talk to y'all later.